on the cloud, and then you can all get sent out a recording. Lovely to have you on board. Any questions? There's a little chat button somewhere, or you can unmute yourself and ask. But there's a little chat here. I'll just say hi, hello everyone in the chat there. And then if you want to jump on and ask as we go along, please feel free. I'll try and be reasonably quick because there's quite a lot here and I know you're all super busy. So quickly, I just wanted to talk about where scheduling fits in the functionality of the system. So there's three main bits of the functionality, which is scheduling, the mobile apps and team accountability, and then the invoicing. And there's sort of like a hierarchy of activities, like you get the scheduling sorted out first, then you move into team accountability, and then into invoicing, and then into the workflow optimization functionality with triggers and customized emails and that sort of stuff. So the scheduling, at a very simple level, it's just probably worth jumping a little bit into the workflow of a job. So a job goes through a bunch of different statuses, and when you're scheduling, you're often managing those statuses. So as a scheduler, you're setting a job in as soon as you catch it from a customer as tentative, and then once you've confirmed the time, you're locking it in as scheduled, and then the field worker is coming across here. And someone's got some background noise there, which is cool. I can just pop that on mute.
Who has what?
Alex. No.
What?
I've gone on to this little Scheduleflow thing.
Yeah.
But he's muted.
Oh.
I don't know if he's meant to.
I'm not meant to be muted. Thank you.
Ah, there you go. It's not me.
You saved me an hour of talking and not knowing I was muted. Thank you very much. You're a lifesaver. Was that Vicky or was that Action Offers? All right, I'm going to fire off again. Thanks for that. That was very helpful. All right, so again, back at the start. So Scheduleflow is made up of three major functional sets. So one is scheduling, one's team accountability, and one invoicing, and we're going to focus on scheduling today. And then there's workflow optimization and trigger messages and that sort of stuff. And that gets you to the nirvana of working on your business and having things run in a streamlined way. The scheduling workflow for a job is you book it in as tentative, you book it in as scheduled, and then the technician can update it as incomplete or completed, and then you can set it off as invoice. That's a really common workflow. So let's jump in. We're just going to start off with a simple scheduling right now, and you can just, if you hover over a job, you can just see the common statuses which are set up here. Some nice triggered messaging set up there on that one. So I'm just going to set up a basic scheduled job. I can drag the job around. This is a recurring job, so this has been set up. If I look down the bottom, I can see this job is repeating every 1 month from the 9th of November to the 9th of May. Now let me just go grab a simple scheduled job. So this is just a simple scheduled job. So what is, it's simple, but it's also a bit clever. So what I can see here, so I've scheduled a simple job. I can see if it's taken by someone else here, because it'll come up taken when I schedule it. If I hover over my technicians and I've set up the skill types, my technicians in settings, so I've set up this skill type okay in settings. So if I just go to one of those staff members, this job here is a repair job type. And if I look at these staff, I can see that Paul is available, but James is in training all day, and Samson's away and on another job, and Sarah's on another job. This will also check against job type. So if Paul was available but didn't do repair jobs, so if I go into staff and I check job types that Paul does, and we say, look, Paul doesn't do repair, he does other job types. And I come back to this schedule and I look at this job here. I'll just talk a little bit about drag and drop for a second too. Now I look at job types here, we can see Paul's a light brown, so he's not qualified for the selected job type. Samson's not there, so really this is not a great time. So I'm going to reschedule that job. So there's a little reschedule button down here. So I'm going to reschedule that job, and I'm going to find a time slot and a day which is convenient to do that job. I'm going to jump in and I'm going to assign it to an actual technician. So on the day view, I can find the technician I want to assign the job to. So I know Paul doesn't do that job type, so I'm going to give it to Samson at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. So now Samson's scheduled on that job. Paul can't do the job. Samson's all lined up. James is not available. He's in training. So I'm just going to schedule this job. So now I'm happy with that job scheduling. I'm going to jump across and just show you how you set availability for staff when you're scheduling. So we could see that James wasn't available. So if I jump down to the bottom of staff and technicians, here's my availability calendar. So I can set things up here. So if I come in here, I can see that this technician has been marked unavailable from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. and their reason is training. So this can be anything, and I can set up repeat rules on here every day for those hours. So I can even just say unavailable every Friday morning. And then that goes back and gets reflected in the schedule. So let's just jump back to our simple scheduling again. So just with drag and drop, one thing to know is if I try and drag it from there, it works, and there it works. Actually, it works from anywhere. They've changed that. So there's drag and drop from here. You can't drag and drop from here, from the unscheduled jobs. But what is nice to do is if that's the job I want to edit, I go in and I edit that job. And to schedule where I want, I use the reschedule feature. So that actually lets me jump in, pick the day I want, see what staff I've got, and just slot it in where I want. So I'm going to give it to Paul again, because Paul, like me, doesn't have anything to do on that day. So that's locked in. Paul's locked in. Everyone's available on that day. That's all good. The job type's installation. Like I said, if I change that job to repair and I come in here, Paul's actually not going to be qualified for that job type. So that can just help people who aren't familiar with the team as to what skill sets and availability they've got. I'm just going to lock in as scheduled, which would be a typical workflow. So now that's a simple scheduled job. So let's go have a look at a recurring job. And then let's see, this is 2 techs on the one job. Actually, just before I do recurring, I'm going to do a split job. So this scenario happens when I've gone and done a job, it's all booked in, but the technicians come in and they've updated that job status. So let me just get a little technician window open here. So the technicians come in on that job and they couldn't complete that job because it was too complicated and it ran over, or they couldn't complete the job. Let me just whack a job on myself here. So let's give Paul this job. So now I've got that job there. So I've got a job here for me on Thursday. So if the technicians come into that job and they've said, look, I can't complete that job. They've gone and they've put a job note there. Need parts and job took too long. Need another hour to complete. I'm just going to leave that there. I just save that note. I could have sent a message to the scheduler as well, but anyway, I'm keeping an eye on my schedule in here. So I've come in here and I've seen my schedule here has gone, this job's now incomplete. So I want to do a callback job. So I want to do a follow-up job at another time, maybe even another technician. So I come down here, I hit my little save and close magic triangle. I can save the job, keeps me in the job, and I can do save, copy, and split. That copies all of the job information. Ask me a question about whether I want to keep the hours and parts or just copy a new job across. So I'm just going to say, look, I'm going to reschedule that for the next day. I'm going to reschedule that for Friday, and James is available, but I'm just going to give it to Paul because he did it the first time. I'm going to set it to a status of scheduled because they're ready to do it. I might update the notes. The old notes are in there. I can delete them if I want, or I can leave them in there. Just depends what's going to be useful. Probably leave them in there, but just might update the tech note, say needed to come back and install my XYZ widget. So I'm going to hit this little save button, which keeps me in the job if I have to go grab a coffee and I just want to quickly save the job. So now this job is saved, but I'm still in the job. And if we look at this split job, we want to keep track of these two parts of these jobs. It's the same job. It's got the same core job number 8, and that's an S to say it's been split, and it's an 8. So now I've got my 2 jobs in there. Now, if I had hours and parts, I'd put some, I'd use some parts on this job. And say I'd use some parts on the first job. So let me just jump back to the first job. So there's some costs in there. So let me just jump over job 8. So I'm going to jump into job 8 now. So I'm just jumping between the 2 different visits for the same job. So I'm in job 8. I'm going to add some more parts in here for job 8. I used more on the first one, and I'm just going to save this. I'm going to stay in it. So if I go into any of my split jobs, I can now see my 2 different parts of my split job. But if I want to invoice them as one bundle, or do a service report off one bundle, I can go in there and I can invoice selected jobs. It combines those 2 jobs into the one invoice for me. So it's easy to manage multiple visit jobs with a single invoice. So now I've got a nice little invoice there, and I can manage that in statements, invoices, all that sort of stuff. So that's basically the split job workflow. And then when they're both done and invoiced, I could go in and I can change the status of both of them to say, look, they've been invoiced, job done from my point of view, save and close. So that's done. So that's the callback workflow. Now, if we wanted to jump in and have a look at the recurring job functionality. So I've got one sitting here. If I just hover over it, I can see this job is repeating every month from that date to that date. Now, months are a bit funny because they can shift days. So it's better if you can work in 4 weekly lots rather than months. So I would, if that works with your customers, I would rather do it every 4 weeks because that keeps it on the same day. So right now I'm sitting on a Thursday. If I do it every 4 weeks, it will always be on a Thursday. Same goes for quarterly. It's 13 weeks. So quarterly, 4 weekly, and every 6 months. If I do it that way, it's all in bundles of weeks, and I'm always staying on the same. I'm always staying on the same day. So let me just go back to every 4 weeks, and then I can choose the date of that series to end. So it's going to be. I just might say, look, it's going to end in October. So I've set the series and I set when it's going to end, and save and close. So this is asking me if I want to make a change in how that affects the series. Actually, to make this a bit easier, what we're going to do is I'm going to make a recurring series which goes every day. So I can show you a little bit about what happens if you change a series. If you change a series mid-series and you want to change just the following jobs in the series, or you want to change. So I'm going to make that go for about 8 days. And then we're going to jump in and we're just going to have a little look at Paul, and now it's got a -1, so it's the first part of the series. So here's my recurring series here. I'm just going to drag this job out there. So I've just got that going every day. So say this job on Friday, there was a clash. So say there was a clash on the Friday and we couldn't do it. I can grab this job from the Friday and I can reschedule it to a different time. Now this is saying, do I want to reschedule all of the jobs, all these following jobs, or just this first one? So I just want to reschedule this first job. So I rescheduled that first job and all these other ones are off and running. Then say I didn't want to work on the Saturday, I could come in here and I could delete this job. So say I just want to delete this job. I'm just going to delete this one, just this particular job. I'm not going to delete all following, and I'm not going to delete the whole series. And same with this one, I just might want to come in and delete this one. So I'm just going to delete this job here. So now my recurring series is all set up, and they're all sitting here as a bunch of jobs. So if I jump into Bruce Wayne here, where's Bruce Wayne? There's Bruce Wayne in here. So I can see Bruce's jobs in here. So these are all the recurring jobs I've set up for Bruce. So I've jumped into accounts, into Bruce, and I can see all of his recurring jobs here and keep a status of what's going on. I've also got a new little feature, which is a summary, which actually collapses the recurring series and treats it like one job, and just gives you a total, an approved quote amount, your costs for that job and your timesheet costs for that job. But if I want individual jobs here, or I can come to job search to find these individual jobs, and I can search by Bruce or whatever, and my recurring jobs will be in this series. So if I just jump here, I'll say, look, give me the jobs I've got scheduled this week. I just want to have a look at what's going on this week. So I've jumped into advanced search. I've done my search for jobs this week. And these are the jobs I have scheduled for this week. All right, so that's the recurring series. That's the simple series. Now there's a few run sheet type management scenarios we have. One of them is I can come up here and say I've got a bunch of tentative jobs. I don't know that I do actually. Let me just make some tentative jobs. Let's just go edit a couple of tentative jobs. So say I get a batch of jobs which come in here and they're in a tentative status. And I need to do a bulk management of those run sheets. So I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to change a few more to be tentative. So now I've got a few tentative jobs sitting in there. So now if I say, look, show me all the jobs which are in a tentative status. Sorry, these pop-ups, you double click on them, you open and close them. Sometimes you click out of them, they close. So I can see there's tentative jobs and when they were scheduled, and the Delta tells me, look, I plan to get those done on the 30th of the 10th or the 2nd of the 10th, and they're 10 days late. So if I'm managing a run sheet type scenario, I can do this way. It's basically a follow-up by job status, give me stuff I need to attend to. So then I can come in and I can edit this job and I can go and schedule this job. So it's a way of keeping track of a bunch of things you need to attend to, which are getting popped into the system, but then you need to go schedule them. When you pop them in, you can pop them in for a date you want to do them, but you can unselect the time and say, hey, look, they're not locked in yet. Or you could just put them in a tentative status, and that works perfectly well. And then when you're ready to schedule, you come in, you hit the reschedule button, you navigate to the day you want to do them. So say I want to look at this week. Now you can see this starts to get a bit congested. And if I'm scheduling ahead, this might be a bit hard to view. So I can do the rotated calendar view and I can get a bit of a better view of when my time slots are. So my technicians are sitting on the left-hand side and my days are sitting on the time. And I can see here, so it's not so congested, I could go pop a job there in the afternoon, or I know Samson's got a free day, so I can pop that time in there for Samson. It's just an ad hoc job. And I'm just going to go in and just confirm that time all looks good. I might actually want him to start at 8 a.m. So that's just this particular job. That was a recurring job. I've just updated that. So you can set up recurring jobs for every month and as tentative, and then go in and do this sort of allocation. If you want a hand with this, please feel free to send an email to support@scheduleflow.com or ptyrrell@scheduleflow.com, and really happy to help you work through some of this run sheet functionality. We also have some specific run sheet reports if there's more advanced functionality you want, which we can set up for you. Now, I think that's the main functionality around scheduling. I know you guys are super busy, so I don't want to jump into too much more stuff. We might visit some other custom series we do where if you have a job which recurs infrequently. So sometimes you have a job that goes every month, but if you're in a business which actually say, look, we recur the job for the first month, the second month, and then we don't do anything for 6 months, and then we don't do anything for 12 months, and then we do something every year. So we have a custom series we can set up for you. where you actually set up a split job series and you save that as a template. And then you can grab that template and reuse it, and that saves the job types and the messages for each one of those structures. So if anyone's interested in that at all, please let me know, and we can set that up for you guys and take you through how it works. Does anyone have any questions? That's sort of the main functionality there. You can pop them in the chat, or you can just ask away. I don't know where the chat is. I've lost the chat. The chat comes down here somewhere. Oh, sorry. Hello? I heard a beep. Any questions, anyone?
No questions.
No questions. We're going to record this. So was that useful? Did you get something out of that?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So we'll do a recording because I go fairly quick because I know you guys are super busy. So we'll send the recording out and then you can just replay it at your own pace and go through stuff. We're always here for help. So you can jump down on the help in the application down on this little help button here and say, help, I want some help, or give me some stuff, or just send an email to support. So thank you so much for coming in, and I really appreciate it. And yeah, just let me know if you need anything.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Ciao. Have a great day. All right, signing off now all. Ciao.